Hey everybody, welcome to Perfect Edition Comics. I'm your host Perfect, and today we're going to take a look at Vinland Saga. You're going to want to watch this one. Let's do this thing. As we like to do, let's take a look at a size comparison first. Here's a normal tankobon, this is Rurouni Kenshin. You can see we've got an oversized edition with this hardcover of Vinland Saga. Secondly, here's 20th Century Boys. Did a review of this the other day. You can see it's pretty much the same page size. Obviously, the hardcover version from Kodansha of Vinland Saga is slightly bigger simply because of the hardcover extending a bit further than the actual page block itself. Take a look at the spine. So as I said, this is by Kodansha Comics. This actually collects the first two tankobon of the original Japanese series into this single hardcover. So opening it up, the first few pages are actually in glorious full color. However, I should say that this is the only part of the book in color, and it's really just the first 3 or 4 pages, mostly the splash that you see, an introduction page, and this first cover that I'm showing right now. Then we got the table of contents. The book is around 470 pages, including the house ads at the back. And as I said, it collects the first 2 tankobon in this hardcover version. So this is a historically based story in the age of the Vikings, and their invasion of England is actually where we start, straight into the action at first. And the story revolves around this guy. His name is Thorfinn. I'm going to read this straight from the synopsis on the back of the book to avoid any major spoilers that you wouldn't find out about other than reading the back of the book. So as a child, Thorfinn sat at the feet of the great Leif Erikson and thrilled to wild tales of a land far to the west. But his youthful fantasies were shattered by a mercenary raid. Raised by the Vikings who murdered his family, Thorfinn became a terrifying warrior, forever seeking to kill the band's leader, Askeladd, and avenge his father. Sustaining Thorfinn through his ordeal are his pride in his family and his dreams of a fertile westward land, a land without war or slavery, the land Leif called Vinland. So Makoto Yukimura's art style is quite diverse. It goes from showing an anime, exaggerated feel through to extreme violence and graphic detail. His action tends to be very clean. He focuses panels and creates panels larger than your normal talking head panels to actually show the dynamic fight scenes, lots of movements, but it's not cluttered like a lot of manga might be when it comes to trying to see what's going on in the action. It's very clear what you're seeing. Obviously, it's quite violent, being historically based on Vikings and the Middle Ages. You'll also see things like this. This is a mini chapter break which shows almost a mini cartoon version of the history of Thorfinn's sister in this case. And there's these little things that are thrown in between chapters and around the book that add an extra bit of flavor and history and background story to the characters. In between each chapter break, you'll see things like this. This is a map which actually shows historically through a timeline the travels and journeys of the main character Thorfinn and where he's gone. It'll also give you a bit of background as to what was going on historically. So you'll see Norway, you'll see places like Iceland, England, and you'll follow the kind of historic details of the different wars and battles that were going on between the Vikings and the raids that they had on England at the time. Yukimura tries to really add a flavor of history alongside his story. So he really takes trouble. Here you can see another example of this. This actually shows the layout of Thorfinn's home and takes you into some high-level detail around what it would have been like to live during these times. Yukimura really tries to match as much historical detail as possible. And so when it comes to the background art, the homes, the hearth, and all the little details around the art really does keep you engaged. You want to kind of look as much at the backgrounds and details of the world as you do the action and the story that's going on. Here you can see some more of the action that for me is a highlight of the book. Obviously, it's the brutal violence of Viking raids and those times in the Middle and Dark Ages. And again, when it comes to panel layouts and dynamic fights, it's really easy to follow, and he has a great way of focusing in on the brutality of the different fights that are going on and the brutal violence of the time. It's really not cluttered, and it's really nice that there's not too much going on in terms of speed lines and other things to distract your eye. He's got a great tonality to his work as well. You can see the way he uses the grey tones to bring more detail and to make things pop as well. So Yukimura actually won 2 awards for Vinland Saga so far, probably many more that I'm not aware of. The Japan Media Arts Award Grand Prize for Manga, as well as the Kodansha Manga Award. Let's take a look at the extras in the back. Then you have translation notes. So as I said, Makoto Yukimura is kind of a real stickler for trying to bring in as much historical accuracy as possible. So he has these notes which actually explain the history of the things that you're reading about. So if you do really want to get deep into the Viking background and story, it's all here for you. He also adds in a little bit of Japanese history. He's got a bonus story in here. And what's fascinating about this for me is you can really see he uses a bit of a different wash style for his grey tones, and it brings out the dynamic range of him as an artist. And there's a little bit of introduction here, and it talks about the Edo period going on in Japan. So that's it. Let's take a look at the binding quickly. So here you can see it's a sewn binding inside of the hardcover, so a nice high quality volume. So Yukimura also has another manga available, that's Planets. There's 2 collected editions, which are also 2-in-1 books from Dark Horse. And Planets also has an anime if you're interested in that. Basically, the story is about a junk collector or a garbage man in space. I don't want to give away more than that. But it has the same high-level detail and, great art, great story, all done in 2 volumes. So if you like what you see here, then I'd pick that up as well. Highly, highly recommend Vinland Saga. It's one of those manga that just really grabs you. It's something that not only is based in history, as I've said, but also has great action, great story, and phenomenal art. I can't recommend it enough. And remember, stay perfect. See ya.